I am ready. Hello, Alan. Today we want to talk to you about parallel selves. That is the whole concept of how you are multi-dimensional, multi-personality, multiple being. You are one aspect of a multiple being that exists in many ways, in many different forms. And in fact, we're going to talk about some generalizations here, because the multiplicity of ways that you exist, that you are manifested, in addition to what you consider this particular personality sitting in this chair, speaking at this point in time, the multiplicity of other ways that you exist are actually too innumerable to recount. So we'll try to simplify it and give you some general categories. And so, there's the concept of past lives. Past lives are what most people most readily identify with as being an alternate version of themselves, or a version of themselves that they are closely akin to, almost like a sibling. But not only do you have past lives, but you also have parallel current lives that are structured in almost the exact same way. In fact, they are structured in the same way. And you have future lives. And that's because, of course, time does not really exist beyond those dimensions that have some form of physical reality. And everything is really being created at this one moment in time. And so the past, the present, and the future is all being created from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. And it is in that creation that you create past lives, parallel lives, and future lives. Now, these are basically constructs that you use to better understand yourself at this moment in time. They exist because you created them. They exist in limited numbers because in this particular reality, this particular physical being that you are in, this body, this mind, you can only handle a certain number of possible alternative aspects of yourself, alternative reincarnations of yourself, whether they be past, present, or future. Now, many people have a very difficult time with the whole idea that there could be present reincarnations and future reincarnations. And so their mindset is even more limited to just past incarnations. And so they create past incarnations to explain, to justify, to formulate the personality, the being that they are at this point in time. And as you've heard someone say, not too long ago, it doesn't really matter if these are real or not, because they are informative. They give insight. They teach you about yourself, about this personality. So the whole idea of real, of course, can be very challenging as well, because in some sense, all imagination is real. It's just certain imaginations come into a physical form in which you can then physically, using like a scientific method of some sort, test them, but still, it is still formed by your imagination. And so different imaginations emerge and manifest in different ways. And so past lives are part of that imaginative process, but the more energy that's put into a particular past life belief, the more real it is. And so it can be very real. for any individual person. Or it can be very unreal for any individual person. It all depends on how much of their belief energy they put into the structure that they have created in what they call a past life, or a parallel life, or a future life. So that is one form of incarnation. It really depends on the individual, on how many of these alternate incarnations. Incarnation seems to be maybe the best way to conceive of these. How many of these incarnations they want to bring in to understand who they are now. It could be 12, it could be 24, it could be hundreds, theoretically. But most people, because of the limitations that you have agreed to in coming into this reality, you cannot really conceive of incarnations beyond maybe a couple dozen. So that is one type of parallel self. We can expand upon that. However, another type of parallel self might be, maybe we can call this your social self. Everything that you see is a reflection of you. Whether or not you actually incorporate those other things that you see into your being, into your consciousness as part of you, at a minimum, they reflect you because you are interpreting what you see. Basically, the world that you move around in is simply energy. That's all it is. You're just moving in this field of energy. Some of that energy, the system that you've adopted, transfer those into what is called light and colors, and those you can see visually. There's other types of energies that are more conceived of more in terms of sound and touch, smell, spatial understanding of your body, your sort of body interpretations. So there's a variety of different ways that you interact with the energies around you. But still, at one level, that's all it is energy. And it's not until it comes into your senses, through your senses, and into your nervous system, and into your various integration systems, which your mind is one, your heart is another, your gut brain is another. In fact, you have these throughout your body, these centers of intelligence that interpret the world for you. But once they come into those centers, then they start going through this process of organization and creating structure. And in that, then you create the structure. You create differentiation between different objects in the world around you using your nervous system, for example. So, in many ways, everything that you encounter is part of you and is then also a reflection of you. As you interpret them, they become a reflection of you because it's you who's doing the interpretation. They are not doing the interpretation, they're just energy. But you are interpreting them and putting them into a structure that reflects who you are. Now that's the entire world around you. But within that world, there are other humans and other certain entities. It's not just human. It can be dogs, cats, it can be pets, it can be other types of animals. It can be trees and plants, a garden that somebody has created. You create these communities of entities, such as, for example, a class that you are a part of, such as the yoga teacher training class that you're a part of. This is a community of entities, of beings that have come together and are deeply connecting to one another, deeply creating each other in this coming together. The people you work with in various ways, either at your former job or just working with on books and articles and things. You and they are connecting and creating each other to reflect yourself. And so you can think of each of these communities that you belong to as a bigger form of yourself. And of course, you belong to many different communities, right? There's the neighborhood you're in, even though you don't necessarily know all the people in that neighborhood, but they are neighbors, and that's a community. There's the ethnicity that you might belong to. There are the hobbies and interests that you have, that you connect with those people. So there's all these different ways that you create your identity through these different communities that you are a part of. And at the same time, those entities, those animals, plants, other humans, when they are using you to create their identity as well. And so in that sense, you and they are one. So you're part of this larger community, just as all the organs and cells in your body are part of the community that forms your body. And you can also think of all these different communities. Once you define the community, you can think of all the members of that community as being like siblings, like family. Family is one of these communities. So that's another level. And then the third and final level, that we'll just simplifying this, is that everything that you encounter, everything that you see, everything that you feel is you, because you are all that is. You are all that is creating a reality. And everything in that reality that you encounter, whether it's a news article, whether it's a flower, whether it's a rock on the street, all these things, everything beyond what your physical senses can even comprehend is you, is created by you, and is a direct reflection of you, and you are them. And everything that you see can give you insight, deeper insight into who you are. So in that sense, they are also all reincarnations of yourself, just in different forms. There's one other level of this that we want to talk about, and it's kind of related to all of these. You also have parallel incarnations in other dimensions. So you have the energy group, which we are speaking through you now, your higher self, as we are generally referred to in your reality these days. And we are also part of you. We're all connected. As we've said before, you are part of our collective, our energy group collective. And we send out parts of our collective into these different realities, into these different dimensions, to experience these different dimensions, to give us insight into ourselves so that our whole collective group can evolve together. In some ways, we're one entity. We're not a whole bunch of entities, but in other ways, we're also a whole bunch of entities. Because we each have our own different energy, but we also have a shared energy. So that's another way that you are a multi-dimensional, multi-personality, multiple incarnational being. So in that sense, you should basically keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and realize that everything that you're encountering is your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your twin. That's probably the best way to think about it. Everything that you encounter is your twin. And how would you want to treat your twin? We love you. We thank you for this opportunity to bring this particular information through. We hope that it benefits you, benefits your planet as you make your way through this 2020 year of transformation. Namaste.